If you are overspending every paycheck that you get, if you are constantly using credit cards and Afterpay, if you are living under a mountain of debt, then you need to listen to this video. 5 key ways to be disciplined with money. All right, I know that I said 5, but we're starting with 0. Okay, so we're starting with 0. 0. You need a budget. That's the foundation. Before you can do 1 through 5 of the things that I'm about to talk about, you need a budget, because a budget is your foundation. The budget is the key to even begin to be disciplined with money. You actually need to know how much you have coming in. You need to know exactly how much your expenses are. And you just need to know how much you're spending outside of your expenses. And of course, if you're saving, it would be interesting to know that number as well. So, in order to be disciplined with money, you have to have a budget. That is a way to track all of your money, and so you can be cognizant of how it is being spent. Okay? Now let's jump into number 1. Number 1. Live on less than you make. Without a doubt, you have to live on less than what you make. Whatever you have coming in, obviously you need to live below that. And I know that it sounds like something that is just so simple, but we have people living beyond their means. How are they living beyond their means? You're saying, how are they actually spending more than they have coming in? Because they're using the things like Afterpay and using credit cards and using different types of debts in order to get the things that they want. Or maybe they could be using it even to live off or to pay for legitimate expenses. But either way, you have to dial it back. If you find yourself spending over the amount that you have coming in, then you are totally setting yourself up for failure. Without a doubt, you're setting yourself up for failure. And we know that you don't want to do that in terms of your money. Because if you're overspending each month, you're going to find yourself overspending, in debt, and to a point where you can't even pay the minimum balances off of all the debts that you have. So, number 1, you have to live on less than what you make. And if you find that your expenses are over the amount that you have coming in, then you have to subtract some things from your life. Maybe you have to downsize in terms of a rent or a mortgage. Maybe you have to cut out the streaming services. Maybe you need to call your insurance companies in order to see how we can get some of those expenses or some of those insurances at a lower amount. You have to find a way to live beneath what you have coming in. You have to. That goes without saying. That is number 1. Number 2, stop giving into the wants of yourself and of your children. First and foremost, make sure that your basic needs are met. Your 4 walls, transportation to and from school, clothing, food, and things of that nature. Your basic needs need to be met. Anything other than that is a want. So if you're finding yourself overspending because you are eating out, which is a want. Yes, you need to eat, but you need to go to the grocery store where it's cheaper, and you need to meal plan in order to get your food line item down to an appropriate amount, right? Yes, of course you need clothing, but what type? You don't need the name brands and things like that. Of course, we need transportation, but again, what type? You have to make sure that your transportation costs, whatever you're driving, is in alignment with your budget. Vacations, you don't need that, right? You know what your wants are, right? going out to the movies, having a fun time, using a lot of money. Those are things that you want. You don't necessarily need. And if you find yourself overspending because you're wanting, and you're giving into those wants, then you need to cut those out. We don't have to give into every single want that we have. That is a part of being disciplined. If you are living within a budget, you say, okay, these are my expenses. I have 50% for my expenses, and maybe 20% for my savings, and 30% for my wants. If you are overspending that 30%, then you need to cut it out because you are wanting way too much. We want to spend according to what our budget can afford us and not above that. So you have to cut out those wants. The coffees on the way to work, the Dunkin' Donuts, all of that is a want. You can find a more economical way to have your breakfast. So make sure that you determine what your needs are and what you want your wants are. And if you can't afford your wants, then you need to stick to your needs. Stick to your needs. Number 3 is a special tip that I use. So it's one of my personal tips that I'm providing unto you. I make sure that I'm only spending money on certain days. And that's usually probably Friday, Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday. And what I'm doing during those days are, obviously you have to go to get your groceries, you get your gas for the week, you get whatever clothes you need, anything you get your needs on those days. And maybe you pick up a want or two, or you have some entertainment, which it falls under your wants. But outside of that, I do not spend money. There's literally no reason for me to spend money Monday through Thursday because I'm going to and from work. We're going to and from work, to and from school. Everything we need, we already have because we purchased it already during the weekend, and we made sure to stay within a particular amount. So in order to keep from overspending, or we just don't spend money. We just are not spending money during the week because we legitimately don't need to. Everything that we have is in our possession already. And if we do find ourselves spending money during the week, it's because a type of emergency came up. So that is a tip that I have for you. Just make sure that you're spending money on certain days, and then just tell yourself other days spending money is off limits because you know what? I already have what I need. So that's something that you can try in order to be disciplined, and it's a nice way to tell yourself no. Number 4, treat yourself within reason. Nobody is saying that you cannot treat yourself or have a little bit of enjoyment or have a lot of enjoyment. Just make sure that you can afford whatever it is that you are doing. You have to treat yourself because you don't want to go around just getting all of your needs and feeling bummed because you have none of your wants. And then what will that do? That'll probably cause you to splurge and overspend and go into debt. We don't want to do that. So we want to make sure that we are placating ourselves or comfort in ourselves with the things that we like. So for instance, today, of course, I went and did my regular shopping, which includes groceries and things of that nature. But I also picked up a little bit of something for myself, seafood. So tonight I'm going to enjoy a nice seafood dinner with my family. I picked up fried fish for everyone and extra seafood for me. And so we're going to chow down. We're going to have a fabulous meal. But that meal is much cheaper than it would have been if I would have gone to a restaurant to purchase it. And not only that, I feel like I'm getting a treat because it's outside of the usual chicken that we eat on the norm. And So again, I feel like it is a treat to me. So what can you do in order to treat yourself? Another thing that I used to do, and I am calling this a treat, I used to pick up those iced coffees, but I used to get them in a pack of 6 from the market. Pick them up from the market, and then they were much cheaper. So instead of having to stop in the morning, I would have a nice little iced coffee drink on the way to work without the added cost and without the added time um, to stand in those lines in the morning on the way to work, which is frustrating in itself. So, what can you do in order to treat yourself within reason to make sure that you're getting some of the things you want and you feel like you're doing a little bit of something for yourself? Nobody is saying not to treat yourself. You actually should, but do it within reason. Do it within reason. All right, number 5, which is another tip for you. Make sure that you are tracking your free spending money. So earlier I talked about living within a budget. I said of your income, 50% of that serves as your expenses or your needs. 20% of that would serve as savings, and 30% of that would serve as free spending, where you get your wants and you're free to spend whatever you want, whatever you need, right? Or whatever you want. What I do is I have a special credit card that I use only for my wants. Let's say that you gave yourself $1,000 a month to freely spend. I take my credit card, right? And I'm only using this particular credit card for my wants. Only using this particular credit card for my wants. So as I go through the days that I spend, I go ahead and I'm swiping that card and swiping that card. And that card gives me an alert at 7 o'clock a.m. And it tells me this is how much you've spent up until this point. Every day it does it. Every day my credit card gives me an alert that says this is how much you've spent thus far. This is how much you spent thus far. So every day I know exactly how much I've spent on my wants. And there's no question about how much more I have left to spend, because every day is smack dab in my face. I'm not pulling out a tracking sheet every day. I'm not going through my budget every day. And I actually only pay bills, sit down to pay bills once a month. So this is what I'm looking at each and every day of the month. I've given myself this set amount to spend. I have this amount and I'm spending it throughout the month. And as I go throughout the month, I already know how much I'm spending. So then I know when to pull back, and I know when I've not spent that much and I can go ahead a little bit, speed ahead. So that is another tip. That's the way that I track how much I am freely spending. And it's an easy way to do it. I literally have to do nothing but wake up and check my cell phone, to which the alert comes to me in the text message to tell me how much I've spent thus far. Okay? So I hope that these tips have helped you. If they have, please shoot this video, share it with somebody else who needs to learn how to be disciplined with money. Share, please share, and also subscribe. And don't forget to like the video. Thank you. Until next time.